We've demonstrated our ability to produce those high purity oxides. We've built a demonstration plant. We're going to 24/7 operation now.
Ionic Rare Earths Limited, ASX IXR on the Australian Stock Exchange, is a rare earths developer in Uganda, processing facilities in Belfast, Ireland, headquartered in Melbourne, and joining me right now is Managing Director Tim Harrison. Hello, Tim.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, you're one of the few companies that say and do, because late last year you're putting out announcements about we're going to X, we're going to Y. And here we are, not even past the first quarter in 2024, and you're ticking those boxes. Tell us a little bit about, probably let's start with your recent upgrade on the board changes. I've noticed you've got a significant amount of heavyweight board now, very recent in the last month or two.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to welcome Brett Lynch coming on as Executive Chairman. Brett's coming in and certainly going to provide us with a huge amount of enthusiasm to help myself, the board and the company deliver on our objectives, which is to build, that alternative supply chain through both primary supply out of Makuutu and, really also look at turbocharging what we're doing on the recycling front and secondary rare earth supply chain. So, very exciting phase now for the company as we move into this, very, very near-term producer.
Yes, that's exciting. Now, in terms of being a producer, your primary in-earth asset is in Uganda, in Makuutu, and you're building or have just recently built a test plant. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, so we're building a demonstration plant in Uganda on site at Makuutu. We are very, very close to starting production of mixed rare earth carbonate. So this is a value-added intermediate chemical precipitate produced from our deposit, which is an ionic adsorption clay. And so we're able to very simply extract the rare earths from the clay in an elemental form to make that magnet and heavy rare earth rich product, which has certainly got a lot of appetite across Europe, the US and Asia.
I noticed that 85% of the material coming from Makuutu is of the heavy rare earth type, which is particularly suited for EV applications and motors and wind generators and clean technology.
That's right. 85% of our potential basket revenue come from magnet rare earths. So we naturally have a home in that emerging market, and it's a little bit more beyond that. It's the blend of the individual magnet rare earths that we've got. It's not just a story about neodymium and praseodymium, which are prevalent in hard rock light rare earth deposits. We've actually got an appreciable amount of the heavy magnet rare earths, being dysprosium and terbium. And so we have the four magnet rare earths, neodymium, praseodymium, dysprosium and terbium, that are required in order to make sintered magnets to go into electric vehicles and offshore wind as key thematics and thematic drivers for the magnet rare earth space.
Yeah, it almost sounds like we're talking in Latin when we start using rare earth names, but that expertise that you have in being able to differentiate the different types of components in the rare earth suite would also lend itself favourably to what you're doing on the other side of the world in Belfast, Ireland, by recycling rare earth magnets and other magnets as well.
That's exactly right. So we've got a 100% owned subsidiary based in Belfast in Northern Ireland. There we're recycling permanent magnets to be able to extract the four magnet rare earths into high purity oxides. And so we've demonstrated our ability to produce those high purity oxides We've built the demonstration plant. We're going to 24/7 operation now. And on the back of the successes out of Belfast, we've also been able to move forward meaningfully with some very strong stakeholders there in a collaboration agreement with a UK-based rare earth alloy company called Less Common Metals, which is one of the few rare earth metal and alloy companies that exist outside of China, and also an EV partner there in Ford, looking at developing that domestic magnet rare earth supply chain for the UK. And I think it's a model that potentially will be replicated in other markets with other partners.
Tim, I've been watching the rare earth market for some time, and I can't see any other company that's being able to tick all the boxes, so to speak, in such a short time frame. I mean, you've got mining licenses approved, you've got in-country partnerships sealed, you've got the test plant done, you've got processing and using the Ionic technology to recycle magnets. Now, this is all leading somewhere, I'm sure. What's going on with the Critical Minerals Act, and how is Ionic RE addressing that?
Yeah, so on the back of the EU Critical Raw Material Act, which was announced last year and then approved by the European Commission, they've actually set a target. They've got a target of 25% of the magnet rare earth supply chain coming from recycling by the end of the decade. So
and they've upped that from 10% to 25% too.
Yeah, from 15% to 25%. So it's a significant amount, and I think what it does is it's a very big component. So naturally, the EV manufacturers are now looking at how they can get their foot on that recycled component to go into their supply chains to be able to meet their metrics and requirements by the end of this decade. So, being one of the early movers in this space means that we are going to be a beneficiary of policy like this. But I think it's policy like this that we will start to see replicated in other markets. So, the successes out of Belfast and local policy there and the Windsor framework and our ability to also operate not only in the UK but Europe from Belfast mean that we should see certainly the momentum moving very, very quickly out of Belfast into continental Europe and the US and other markets that we're looking at for recycling in the near term.
Wow. So, you're certainly ticking boxes now. Let's talk about what boxes you plan on ticking in the short term.
Yeah, well, look, right now the focus for both the team in Uganda is getting that mixed rare earth carbonate produced and getting that in the hands of some of the groups that we're talking with now around offtake. The ability to put our product into those new supply chains that are going to emerge across the European, US, Japan, Korean markets, for example, but also on the recycling. Likewise, constant production of high purity separated oxides with that demonstration plant operating, the ability then to sequence and schedule in other potential parcels of magnets from other groups so that we can progress relationships. We want to be in a position to get to a final investment decision on Makuutu later this year. And likewise, with regards to Ionic Tech, having that plant running 24/7, we're also working on a feasibility study due to be completed in the middle of this year that then really positions us for, potentially a commercial plant, making a decision on a commercial plant in the UK, in Belfast, later this year, with the ability to cookie cutter this in other markets like, Europe, the US, Japan, Korea, to name a few, but there's a number of other markets that we're looking at as well.
Astonishing. I've been speaking with Tim Harrison, who's the managing director of Ionic Rare Earths Limited, Ionic RE. The ticker code in Australia is IXR. If you're an offshore investor, the OTC markets is IXRRF. Thank you very much, Tim. Very informative, and looking forward to catching up again.
Thanks, Tim.